Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Time with Shay. Today we're doing episode 9. Now, everything I'm going to be using, as usual, I'm going to list down below, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today's story, you guys, has a lot of moving pieces. There is a lot of twists and turns. It's like an actual physical roller coaster. Like, if you've never been on one, I'm about to take you on one. So let's go ahead and take a ride together. So today's story is about Jeramy Burt. So he's actually in his 30s, and this is him with his daughter Mackenzie, and they were actually visiting family in American Falls, Idaho, around February 11th, 2007. So after he was done visiting his family, he actually drives back to Boise with his daughter. He actually lives with his dad, his daughter, and his ex-wife, Kim. So I know some of you guys are like, what? Did she just say ex-wife? Yes, I did, you guys. When I'm telling you, this relationship right here is so complicated. But let's go ahead and take a step back really quick. So they actually started dating in the late 90s. And their relationship was always like up and down. I mean, you know that saying, when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's even worse. That's how their relationship pretty much is. Now, in 2002, Kim actually got pregnant and they decided to get married. But Jeramy, quote unquote, was technically already married. See, you guys, it's already getting messy. So if Jeramy, after high school, he actually decided to go join the Navy. And while overseas in Japan, he met a girl and they came back to the United States together to end up getting married, and that relationship ended up not working out. She did go back to Japan, but they actually never filed for divorce, like, legally. So that's what I mean. He, like, technically was still married. So Jeramy obviously has to, like, find a lawyer to get, like, that divorce to go through, and this is when he even gets even messier. So supposedly him and this lawyer started having an inappropriate relationship. Now, I'm not sure, like, when the relationship started, but I don't think that it ended, because eventually Kim and Jeramy did still end up getting married, and somehow Kim found out about lawyer lady. And then right after that, after it was like in between where she was about to have her baby and like right before they hit 1 year of being married, they ended up getting a divorce. By the way, you guys, the lawyer lady's name is Jeannie. So if I don't call her Jeannie and I call her lawyer lady, just know that that's her. So yeah, they ended up getting a divorce. He still is actually dating Jeannie, but still wants to be with Kim. So this whole, like, love triangle is a whole hot mess. When I told you it was complicated, yeah, complicated. So anyway, so at some point during this relationship, Jeannie ends up getting into some trouble with the law. So supposedly she was accused of forging a judge's letter, which to me, that's like crazy reckless. Like, why would you even do that? You can literally lose your law license. So anyways, how they actually caught her is because Jeramy actually became an informant for the police to kind of help them catch Jeannie and, like, her lies and stuff. So he actually recorded their conversations, and he eventually actually testifies against her as a key witness. So she actually does get disbarred, and she spends 1 year in jail, but she gets 14 years of probation, you guys. Along with all of that, she also has a restraining order against her for her not to see Jeramy. But of course, that doesn't work. She actually still contacts him right after she gets out of jail, and even would show up at his job. He, like, I think, worked construction, so she would, like, show up with lunch for him. And she even, like, supposedly stayed the night at his house, which, like I said, crazy messy. And if anybody would have found out, she would have been right back in jail. And you know what? I'm thinking, like, where's Kim in all of this? But I couldn't find out, like, what her situation was while this was all happening. By February 2007, they were still all together in this, like, hot mess love triangle. Okay, so now that we're back in 2007, back in February, and when I told you guys that he was on his way home back to Boise, so when he gets home, Kim is not actually there. So she's actually in Las Vegas at, like, some work conference or, like, a work thing. But he does talk to her on the phone that day. So there's conflicting stories about, like, why didn't he go to Vegas with her, but supposedly she did ask him to come out to Vegas with her because Valentine's Day was around the corner, and it was basically to, like, you know, spend time together. But he told her that he couldn't do it because of work. But the family actually hired a private investigator, and he said it was actually vice versa. He said that it was Jeramy that he said that he really wanted to go, but she was telling him not to go because she's going to be working all day. It's going to be a waste of time and a waste of money because they weren't going to see each other. that much anyway. I don't know. Whatever the story is, he ended up not going. So that day, he also talked to his mom, letting her know that he made it home. Now 10:30 rolls around, like 10:30 at night rolls around, and he actually got ready to go out. So he asked his dad to like watch Mackenzie. So he told his dad that he was going to go see his friend Greg, and they were just going to go ahead and catch up and talk about hunting, because Jeramy is actually an avid hunter. But his dad notices that he's a little bit too dressy to go meet up his friend Greg to talk about hunting. But I mean, he just like whatever about it. And I'm like, okay, side-eye Jeramy, who are you really going to go see in my mind, you know? So he tells his dad Mackenzie goodbye. He ends up taking Kim's car, but little did his dad know that was actually the last time he was ever going to see Jeramy. Now, the last person to kind of even hear from him was on February 12th when Kim gets a call from Jeramy's phone, but it's more seemed like an accidental call, because as soon as she picks up, it hangs up. Now, she didn't have time to call back because, like I said, she was at a work conference. She was super, super busy. But when she does call back, no one answers, and it goes to voicemail. So she started to like, what the heck was that kind of thing? By February 13th, people started to get concerned of like the communication that they were having with Jeramy, because it was like just kind of just off. Now, his dad actually wasn't that worried that he didn't come home that 12th or the 13th, because he just thought that he ended up going hunting with his friend Greg. But Kim ends up getting a text message from his phone. Now, I keep saying like his phone, you guys, because yeah, it was Jeramy's phone, but we don't know if Jeramy did it. That's why I keep saying his phone, you know, his call kind of thing. But anyways, the text message was reading as, hey, we need to talk. And then after that, it was about 17 other text messages just saying like goodbyes and that he was leaving. He was starting over. He was going to start a new life, XYZ. So Kim is obviously responding back to the text messages, but she like feels that something is off. Like it's not him, the way he's speaking kind of thing, because she knows that Jeramy actually doesn't like to text. And if he has something to say, like he's going to call you, especially if it's something important, he's just going to go ahead and just pick up the phone. I mean, if this is him, he's literally telling her that he's leaving her, the dad, Mackenzie, his friends, everything that he knows, his home, and is going to live this new life. And she thinks like, you would think like, hey, he would tell me this straight up, not in a text message. You know what I mean? So she gets tired of texting him, and now she's on to like giving him like call after call after call. But all the calls are going straight to voicemail. The one time that it does pick up, and as soon as it does, she says, Jeramy, please don't do this. Then what she hears on the other side is a big sigh, and then it clicks, and the call is dead. So now she's super freaking out. She ends up calling Van, which, by the way, this is Jeramy's dad. So she ends up calling Van. He gets in the same mode as her. He's like, what is happening? What is my son thinking? He ends up calling him, but his calls are now going straight to voice message as well. So when she gets back in town, she and Van actually go to report him missing, as well as her car missing. But because Kim got those text messages and he's an adult, they tell her that he just probably wanted to purposely go missing, like he wanted to leave, and that he'll be back if he wanted to, which, you know, that's the same saying that they always say. So they still ended up taking the report. They weren't being as aggressive as like Kim and Van wanted them to, but since she reported her car missing, they did have to take like a step further into it. They were thinking that if they found the car, then that would lead them to Jeramy, right? In theory. So that's also why I thought it was a good idea that she also did that. Like, you go, Kim. Now, days go by and weeks go by, and they have like no sign of either Jeramy or the car. I guess the cops did look into like his phone and his bank activity, but they didn't pin or track anything down. So I don't know what really they were looking at. But I mean, we're going to go ahead and mention this a little bit later. But like I said, I don't think they were aggressive enough to like look into his information, which I thought it was weird if he was already missing by like 3 days by this time. You know what I mean? So now we're at 3 months after Jeramy has gone missing. By May 18th, some cowboys who were like riding around in the desert have found a burnt car. Now, this area is super remote, you guys. I mean, if there was a burning car, you wouldn't be able to see it from the road. And it's so many like divots and cracks and valleys and stuff that it's actually pretty dangerous to even like walk on. I mean, this place doesn't even have lights. It's so dark when it comes to like nighttime. And you guys, just to give you another snippet of information, this area where they found the car was actually 2 hours away from Jeramy's home. Also, side note, I still think it's cool that they still have cowboys out there like riding around just because. Anyways, so the cowboys ended up reporting it. And since they saw that it was burnt, the only way to even get information off the car was by the VIN number. So that's when they actually found out that the car belonged to Kim. While the cops were inspecting the car, you guys, there was nobody there, but there was still no evidence of them giving anything to the disappearance of Jeramy. So, I mean, hallelujah that there was no body, but it's still frustrating that they couldn't find anything to just lead to his disappearance. But they did notice that the location of the car, again, you guys, like I said, it's very dangerous and you could only get there with a 4-wheel drive car. A reporter from Idaho who was actually covering this at the time said that they did drive their car there, a 4-wheel drive car, but they had to stop a couple yards away from like where the wreckage was because the 4-wheel drive car just wouldn't have made it. And you know what this tells me, you guys, is number one, the placement of the car was put there on purpose. Number two, whoever did it also had to have known that like people weren't going to go there to look for it. You know what I mean? Like it's so far out there. Number three, whoever put it there didn't have intentions of coming back. So were they trying to hide something? Was there evidence of other things going on? Also, number four, they had to have had help because if you would have got the car there, you need somebody to get you out. You know what I mean? So now I'm thinking, was it Jeramy and another person that we don't know of or do know of? Or was it 2 other people that took the car and again, were trying to hide evidence or something? I don't know, you guys. You know my train of thought always goes down deep into it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, what are you guys thinking? Okay, so you remember when I said we're going to talk about the bank and phone information of like the cops looking into it? So when they did look into it, they saw that he had some activity on his debit card that same day that he left home. So a little bit around or a little bit after 10:30, there was a transaction somewhere down in Boise. Now, for me, it's like you got that information, but you couldn't track down like the location. That's weird to me because they knew it was in Boise, but didn't have the location of where the transaction was made. So I thought that was kind of weird that they couldn't do that. Anywho, so he did do a withdrawal, but it wasn't all his money. So they were thinking like if you're going to start over, you're going to withdraw all your money from the bank. I don't really think that way because like, let's be real. Like if you're going to go ahead and move somewhere else, you still kind of need your bank, you know, to like keep your money in check. Also, we're in the 2000s by this time, so you don't really need to take all your money out to start over, especially, like, let's just say, for whatever reason, this is what his intentions were. He did tell Kim that he was going to start over. He's not really technically disappearing, right? It was only after where she got those weird messages and then his dad couldn't get in contact with him and neither could Kim is when they started getting worried, when they were like, okay, maybe this is something more than him just leaving. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Now, 90 minutes later, they said that there was another transaction at a Chevron gas station in Mount Hoon, Idaho. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize, you guys. Now, this gas station was actually 40 minutes away from his home, but it was actually on the way to the desert, which to me, that's kind of sketchy. But again, they couldn't get like surveillance cameras or anything like that of like, you know, of him doing this transaction, which again, to me is weird. Now, after all of this, there's actually no transactions after. Now, you guys, let's go ahead and go back to his friend Greg real quick. Because remember, he was supposed to meet his friend Greg that night. Now, Greg was actually ruled out as a suspect, and it seems that Jeramy actually never even met up with him or even went to Greg's house. What happened is Jeramy did give him a call, but since Greg didn't pick up, that was that. I mean, nothing happened after that. So, to me, in my head, I'm like, where was Jeramy all this time then? And what was he doing? Who was he with? If he was with somebody, like, while he was trying to, quote unquote, go to his Greg friend house kind of thing. As for his cell phone activity, he actually had activity all the way up until February 14th, so even past those bank transactions. But there was no call list that's been made public, but they know that at least the information that they did give out, at least 36 calls were made, but most of them was to his voicemail. Now, I could understand this part because if I was Kim or Van or even any other of his friends trying to see where he's at, leaving him voicemails, then I would understand why he would be calling his voicemail so much. So I do understand these parts because a lot of them were just even like a minute long kind of thing. So you remember when I said that the family was working with the PI? So the PI actually thinks that those minute phone calls kind of thing were to burner phones, so that's why they couldn't be traced. But on February 13th, there was a call made that was between 6 to 7 minutes to a payphone down in Mount Hoon. Now remember, this is where he made that one transaction that was 40 minutes away from his house and, you know, going towards the desert. What sucks about this, you guys, it's like another dead end. And what I mean by that is, let's just say I'm calling one of my friends, letting them know that I'm on my way to their house. I'll be there in like 5 minutes. That's literally like a 40-second call. This is a 6 to 7 minute call, and a lot can go down in that call. And the thing is, like, we don't know who he called since he called a payphone. You can track it to the payphone, but since they didn't have surveillance, they don't know who was on that payphone at that time. So it just sucks because, like I said, it's another dead end. And you guys are about to be furious because I know I was. The PI actually found out that in 2014, to ping the locations, you know, from like the phone calls and stuff, because he actually asked for that, it was actually never made. So by now, it's obviously way too late to do it. They're not going to get nothing out of it. So there's evidence right there lost. So by now, the police have no choice but to just do a deep dive into Jeramy's life. And this is when things start getting even more complicated. Now, the first thing that they saw was the involvement of when he put Kim away. So, you know, that obviously came up. So they had to look into that because what they were thinking is that she just came back into his life to get revenge. So honestly, I'm thinking their train of thought right now is everybody is a suspect until they're not kind of thing. But they did end up questioning her, and she said that she hasn't even spoke to him in months, but they obviously have evidence that that's not the case. So I'm over here like, girl, why you lying? Unless, of course, she had something to hide. Another thing that they did is they ended up doing some polygraph tests, and they did it on Jeannie, Kim, and Van. Now, none of the results have been made public, but I'm thinking if something bad or just misconstrued was on it, I'm thinking that they would make it public, or maybe I'm thinking just too much into it. But like I said, their results haven't been made public. Okay, you guys, so we're about to get in some messiness, so I'm going to try and explain it as the best I can. So in the 3 months where Jeramy had left and took Kim's car, and also between the time where the car was actually found, Kim actually got married. Now, the relationship didn't work out, so they ended up getting a divorce, but to me, that was like, dang, girl, you move kind of fast. But I mean, like, to each his own, you know what I mean? But guess what? Guess who else moved on? That's right, lawyer lady Jeannie. She said that she got engaged on Valentine's Day, which if you think about it, if you think about this timeline, technically she got engaged while Jeramy was disappeared. So, and she had to have known that Jeramy was disappeared by this time because I'm sure the dad called her and was like, hey, do you know where Jeramy's at? I mean, that's just my train of thought. You know what I mean? Am I being crazy? And you know what else, you guys, why I think this is so sketchy? Is because the dude that she got engaged with supposedly lives near the town where they found Kim's car. Tell me that's not sketchy. But these girls moving on into like relationships and marriages is hella weird. But I mean, it doesn't make them guilty, and it doesn't prove any guiltiness. It's just really suspect. And if one of them was involved into the disappearance, then that is plausible. But not all of them kind of thing, especially if the girls didn't even really like each other. I don't see them working together to like make Jeramy disappear or anything like that. I don't know. Again, this is just my train of thought. Let me know what you think, guys. Okay, so you guys remember that family PI? So she actually mentioned that she heard a recording of Jeramy talking about this other Idaho man that went missing named Aaron, which actually he went missing a couple years before Jeramy did. Now, I know that we're talking about Jeramy, but I have to mention his story as well because it's intertwined, of course, into Jeramy's story. Now, what stuck out to me was what Jeramy said in the recording. Quote, "If I go missing, something bad happened to me. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, okay, but what were you involved in that something bad had to happen to you? And that you also mentioned this other guy, Aaron's situation. Now, you guys, there is no proof of these two guys knowing each other. And he could have gotten this information from like news outlets and internet. But I just thought that their disappearances were so similar, like almost too similar, and not to be connected. So Aaron actually went missing in 2004 from the Boise area as well. The last time anyone ever seen him was around 7:30 p.m. Aaron is also in his 30s, and what happened the night before was that he dropped off his 3-year-old son with his son's mother, which sounds the same thing what Jeramy did. Jeramy got ready, he got ready to go, and he left his daughter with his dad. Now, at 7:15, Aaron gets a call from his roommate asking him to come down to like where they live really quick. And then, like I said, he drops off his son with his son's mom. And at 7:30 p.m., that was the last time anyone has ever heard from him or even seen him. Now, what was weird to me is that his roommate actually said that he never seen him, even after like he gave him that call. But his car was parked at his home. So I was like, that's it? Like, that's where his story kind of ends. Like I said, I had to mention this because although the boys didn't know each other, they are connected to Miss Lawyer Lady Jeannie. And you're like, wait a minute, what? So Aaron's mom does this interview. She mentions that Aaron knew a girl named Constance. And Constance actually worked in the same law firm that Jeannie worked at. So you remember Jeannie's mess that she was in with that forgery of the judge's signature and stuff like that? Well, she even drug Aaron into that drama. She asked him to lie in court for her. So he said no, obviously, but he actually went missing before he can even testify, which to me, that's sketchy. Honestly, you guys, Jeannie is just bad news or bad luck or something, and I have a feeling that she has something to do with both of these disappearances. Now, what is weird is, like I said, he went missing before the trial, but Jeramy actually ended up going missing after she got out. And that's what I say. She has to be like, I mean, she's the common denominator. She has to be in something with these missing guys. In July 2016, Kim actually ended up taking her own life. And a lot of the family think it's because of the stress that was going on with like the thing with Jeramy disappearing. And I know that she ended up doing some drugs. I don't think she was doing drugs at this point, but they think that had to do a lot with her suicide, which is really sad, you guys, because Mackenzie is now grown up. I'm probably like 18, 19 years old by right now, and she doesn't have a mom or a dad. In 2016, Jeannie also got married to a guy named Michael, who she actually met on a sugar daddy like website. He's also a lawyer, but he actually tried to kill her, and apparently it was because they got into an altercation and he was being attacked, so he was doing self-defense, but he ended up pleading guilty for trying to shoot her. But again, Jeannie's a common denominator here, you guys, so I don't know about that. Now, you guys, this case has no suspect, no person of interest. There's no lead till this day, and there's been no development in Jeramy or Aaron's case, like, till this date right now. Like I said, Mackenzie is now an orphan, which is really, really sad, and she's old enough to know, like, her dad's situation, what went on, her mom's situation about her suicide, and it's just really sad because she doesn't have her parents to grow up with, and my heart goes out for her and like his dad, Van. It's just a really sad story. I do feel like with this case, we are missing something somewhere. And because cops ended up missing evidence from a while back, that's why we're missing it. But you guys let me know down in the comments down below. And like I always say, you guys, is keep them relevant, keep saying their name, and keep telling their story. I hope you guys enjoyed it today, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.